got up for. Okay.
Of course, she said we going live. I said we going live. She said, "Let me get my spot."
You live and hopped up here. Get
Showed up. She know her cue.
Man,
that's terrible. Yeah. Goodbye.
She said, "Are we live? Oh, I'm here. I'm
trying to get close to these.
Speaking of, while we're like waiting for people to maybe trickle in, we got to add some more documentaries to our list.
Yo, that shit I sent y'all today.
About a faith healer in Brazil or something. It's some wild shit.
Okay.
I think I heard about that one.
Yeah.
On Tubi, you talking about
the shit?
Where is it at?
Netflix.
Okay. And then your shit was on Tubi, right, Charles?
Oh no. The only reason I don't know is because the nigga I will be watching this shit, like when I go to my man's house, he got like the what's that shit called? Soap 2 Day or some shit like that. It's like a site that changes they shit every day. So he be watching all the shit illegally.
Oh, okay. So like a jailbreak. Okay.
Yeah,
I use BTV, but yeah, I got you.
So it might be on Tubi. I didn't research that part.
Oh, okay. I guess we could tell people we hear.
I was just very enthralled on, like, damn, this shit is really happening.
It was a while. I didn't quite remember how intense this shit was.
Yeah.
Oh, this shit, yeah, bro. Like, and then there was, I don't know.
And then I got to the end. I remember the part at the end where they started putting what happened to the people at the end. I remember that part.
Yeah, I don't.
This shit was
I feel like I've seen some of this before, like because I like that girl with the Mary felt like she was very familiar to me, so I had to have seen some of it.
I feel like I might have been drunk when I watched it or suggested it or something, because I remember none of it, and I was like, God damn, this is terrible. Damn, it's over 40 years. Damn, it's terrible. And then I was at work watching it, and I'm sitting in there watching it on one monitor. I'm supposed to be typing to the people, and I'm sitting there sad and upset about some kids that got beat up 40 years ago.
Not beat up 40. You're not lying though, but
like dog.
Their ass beat 40 years ago, fucking up the church's money over there, mistyping shit.
And then this shit sound like some Jim Jones shit. Every nigga that escaped got caught. Everybody.
Yeah,
like,
that was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty. Like even a nigga that made it all the way to California
got caught.
That's weird. That's real weird to me.
Other students to go get this nigga. Ain't even see no adults. Like, yo, this shit was here. Anyway.
Because in my mind, if they sent a car full of students, why wouldn't y'all pick that nigga up and just keep going? Like,
like why can't we all just not be here?
Like instead of fighting it, why wouldn't you just be like, so we're all outside? Like we could just take this car and we could just
we'll just all go.
But I think I think they didn't do it because it's a sense of like when you mentally break somebody down, it's like the military. When everybody on the same page in boot camp, and then one nigga for every nigga that's been in the Navy boot camp. And one nigga become everybody is just in the company, and one nigga become the A-Rock, and the other nigga become the RPOC. That RPOC nigga, if you're not a level-headed nigga, you feel some type of power. And I feel like the way that they had that shit structured, those same kids who probably hated their life when they came in there because they got to a certain point, they now feel as if I'm part of the team. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's more of a mental thing of saying like, oh, I've made it to this level. I'm now just doing my job. I must be a better person since I'm at this level. You know what I mean?
I mean, is it that, or did they was just doing whatever the fuck they could do to just not get the treatment that everybody else is getting?
To not get shot down, to not have to go back and start scrubbing floors again and shit.
Right.
It was wild.
All right. So if we want to get started, guys.
Let's do it.
Hey, this is Chris. That's VJ. This is Penrose down there with the yellow gold
bang, bang.
shot moss.
I'm not shading it up today. I do need to get a gold shad one though. I do.
I mean, specifically today, since he found out he got a new kid, you might want to support your boy. So you got another kid. Well, I mean, it's the baby a year old, so it's not new. But like he was like,
he just found out.
Well, no, she told him, and he didn't believe her.
Like, bitch, You got knocked up on Scream Tour 1, bitch. I don't know.
The baby is here, so at least the last Millennium Tour.
I have no words because that means that somebody slept with him in the year of our Lord 2020.
So yeah.
And I'm not sure why they would do that.
I mean,
what's wrong with that? Or just 20, or was it because it's 2020?
That's not really the question to ask. What's wrong with him? The real
we
question
would be here
like,
all night. And that's not what this is about.
It's more so like these are probably just bitches that have like super had a crush on him since like their whole lives. Like
it's very gross and disturbing.
Honestly. Wouldn't you be weird if you found out the bitch was 45?
Sure, she probably is.
Yeah,
there was grown women who had crushes.
On Blue Battle.
Didn't he have a verse about it? Did he have a verse about how grown bitches be getting to him?
I was like, if she was 45, I would not be shocked by that. So
wouldn't surprise me one bit. One bit.
It's very creepy. But anyway, God bless them. That's funny. Babies are expensive, they keep telling me, so I don't know.
It's not a lie.
somebody asked me the other day, they said, "You sure you want to be a daddy again?" I said, "I love being a father." They said, "Yo, it's more expensive to raise a kid now than it was to raise the kid you have. Your kid's not even grown yet." And I was just like, damn, like I couldn't imagine
$1 million or something.
Dog, just to know what formula was back then, like I can only imagine. A formula's more than what it was then. Formula's like Coke prices.
How much is formula?
Back like then 20, I was paying like $30-something a can.
30? I mean, I feel like I don't know if it's 30, but like
is it like 30
regular size?
Nah,
like I think like the bigger ones are
the big
like
joint. Yeah.
But the small ones be like $22 to $26.
And isn't it like more expensive if your kid like needs like special formula, like
specific ones, like if your kid got hella like burps and shit, like or you need like one. Like if your baby got like a sensitive little stomach and shit, like you got to get this one and that.
Well, my kid had none of that. That nigga just
it was just standard, standard ass. What you call it?
Yep, he refused to breastfeed. He didn't want that shit. So I had that nigga on. It wasn't Enfamil. It was started with an S. Similac. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And the reason I remember bitching so much about it is because at the time she was on WIC, so everything else was free.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh well, but WIC gives you a certain amount, but then
they give you
run out. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You on your own.
When you got a newborn baby, nigga, they going through formula like that.
Especially if they not taking no breast milk. So yeah.
No, nigga, none. He would not fuck with it.
Yeah.
I showed that nigga my paycheck one day and asked him to latch on. He was like, I can't do it.
Nah, he was like, I don't even know what this means. So
right. Who the fuck is Piper and what can she do for me?
Right. Go get that shit with that blue top and go ahead and get the shake on nigga.
Real cute.
Right.
Where's the bottle?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So guys, we are here today to discuss a documentary. Listen, it's not bad. Like WIC. Okay, why am I talking like it hasn't been 10 years? But like,
I'm not talking shit about WIC.
To my understanding, it's like, or from what I remember, it was cool, except like the fact that like, I always felt like they should have just gave you more formula.
That was it.
And less peanut butter and shit. Like, I'm not going to eat this. Like,
right. I don't give a fuck about the eggs and all of that shit. This nigga's a baby. I need meat and like formula shit and Gerber bananas and shit. Now,
right? My cousin had WIC, she would have shit left over and be like, "Hey, you want some vegetables or some?
Right? You want some wheat bread? Milk? You want some all wheat bread, nigga? Like,
yeah, it'd be like random shit that she just didn't give a fuck about, and she would be like, "Yeah, meet me at the store. You can have it."
Right?
Yeah, I ain't gonna front. I used to get extra bananas for that nigga because that shit was good. Who?
Do y'all remember that WIC cereal, Kaboom?
Of course, nigga.
That shit hit so hard. Okay, I was first introduced to it when my mom was pregnant with my sister. That shit was so delicious. By the time I had children, no, they definitely wasn't giving that out no more. It was just plain checks and shit. But yeah, Kaboom was amazing.
Kaboom, what was it doing?
I mean, it was giving you WIC Lucky Charms. You feel me? Like, but I feel like the mushrooms. Oh my god, the marshmallow.
We can't.
I think my edibles kicking in. Okay. So
hallucinating.
Well, I think my edible's kicking in. That's cool. But marshmallows, I feel like the marshmallows were a little bit bigger than like the cereal pieces. Like something was just like magically delicious, but not magically delicious because that's trademarks.
Kaboom would be like,
because you really can't fuck up like a marshmallow cereal. That's one of the things
you really can't. You really can't. And
but
they frosted the cereal
not
like
to
pieces.
Be as big as your hand though.
Like goodbye. They wasn't that
marshmallow. Who cares?
It'd be like they really was like
anytime
like
you have to chop a marshmallow with your spoon.
Stop lying.
You got a fork and a knife taking it to the goddamn marshmallow.
Right. whole mouth blue and pink in the mouth.
Yes, your mouth was definitely all of those colors. Okay, guys, that we're not here to talk about Wick. But like
something equally
right.
Something much more depressing than Wick, because Wick's not depressing.
Yeah. So it's called The Last Stop. It is on Amazon Prime, right, guys?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, if you are a person that like can't handle like trauma shit, and I feel like we've never really done this disclosure before,
but I feel like
I feel like I'm gonna do it now. So if you guys are like super not into like trauma, like kids like going through like insane like social situations without their parents being involved, like abuse, like to some extent, I'm gonna probably tell you guys to like be aware that all of that.
Watch this with somebody else in the room with you.
Yeah. Trigger warning for sexual abuse, physical abuse, some drug abuse.
If you got any trauma,
murder,
possible murder, possible assault.
Actual assault,
mistreatment of children, mistreatment of disabled persons. Yeah, that about covers it. So mistreatment of really any group that you could think of that does need to be mistreated. Trigger warning for that.
You know, the only thing we didn't see here was
bestiality.
You know what?
Yeah, I guess it wasn't no racism, but like it was interesting though because like I always wonder why they didn't interview any Black people, because we saw as the I don't want to get too far into it before we actually start, but as the structure of what the school was changed, they did mention that they were having a lot of like gang members and stuff there, and there were even still photos of them. But I'm wondering why nobody was available for
outside of the one guy that I don't know if you can call him Black.
I mean, he was like the nigga that fucking Freddy Krueger
with the dentist head and shit.
Yeah, nigga.
Yeah, but I feel like honestly, you couldn't interview a lot of Black kids because regardless of how fucked up the shit is that we about to get into, imagine how many Black kids was going through way more fucked up shit anyway,
or didn't get sent to Ilan because chances are
niggas didn't have money.
Yeah, because we'll get into why they weren't probably being sent to Ilan, but
right.
You said it was still photos, and I want to say, I saw that same Black kid 3 different times in the photos, and then one of the Black girls. So it definitely wasn't a vast majority of us. So
yes, and they're saying gang members. I was like, they must be white gang members because I wasn't saying.
I mean, immediately after they said that, they showed the one picture with all the Black people in it. Like,
it was weird.
I mean, that's
so I assumed those were said.
Those were the gang members.
That was just marketing and shit.
Yeah. All right. So
anyway, let's get into it.
Produced and directed and written by Todd Nilsson.
Yep.
Nilsson, who we find out, I guess, is a graduate of the Ilan school himself, but we don't really see him until the end of this.
Like damn near the end, yeah.
Right. But yeah, so context as to why he wanted to make this particular film. So we kind of start out with, I guess, like a montage of children talking about how they ended up at the Elon school.
Right. Like, why'd you get sent to Elon?
The first thing we started out with was a nigga sitting in a chair screaming at the fucking screen. And that's
you're a piece of shit. Yeah. Like he's in a like gray room. He's sitting in a folding chair and he just gets into a posture and he is like just screaming at the top of the lungs, like belittling things, like just like you're a piece of shit, you're nothing, you'll never be nothing, like blah blah blah. And that is the first scene that you have of this. So just think that you're watching like, okay, something called The Last Stop. I'm turning it on. That is the first scene. You don't even know why he's screaming, what he's demonstrating, who he talking to, like, because it couldn't be me, nigga.
Of a kid in a room screaming like a goddamn lunatic. Like,
right.
And then we get into the montage, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about where Elon is?
Elon is in Maine, I believe.
Yes. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you exactly where. Poland, Maine.
Yeah, Poland Springs or something, Maine. Poland something, Maine. Yes. The middle of nowhere, the wilderness. They have these houses of shit set up out in the wilderness, basically. They got these children in these goddamn group homes. Yeah, it's very wild. So we kind of get the gambit as to why these children are put there. And
it's a bunch of different shit.
Yeah, some of it is very trivial. Well, not even trivial. I shouldn't say trivial. It is a lot of teenager growing pains type shit where they're drinking a little too much. Some of them have severe drug problems.
All right.
The one guy stole beer from the back of a restaurant and then got drunk to the point of passing out in the driveway. They thought he was dead.
Yeah, at his friend's house. Because he was also popping pills too.
Yeah, there's a lot of pill popping. There's a lot of sneaking out. There was a lot of horrible relationships with parents. But I'm glossing over it because, I mean, if you want to watch it, like, they will get into the specifics of why they were going. But it was a lot of misbehavior. And I say misbehavior because when it comes to children developmentally, that type of behavior is stemming from something else. Kids don't just decide one day to do drugs and whatever. So all of this is coping behavior because the one thread that we see through all of these discussions about why they ended up at Elon is that these people are talking about how their childhood or their time at home was really shitty. So it's either their parents didn't give a fuck, or their parents were beating them, or their parents were abusing them, or one parent was abusing them and the other one was just like, fuck it, I don't know.
Or the other one was drunk, like.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of neglect and child abuse. And I think the one guy, Doug, who might be black.
That's who I wanted to take a little quick pause on. Because, okay, so Doug was one of the kids that had a bad experience at home, but actually transitioned. And a lot of the kids actually transitioned to Elon from like a group home, a foster home situation. But a lot of these kids that were having those issues at home had already been removed from that situation and either was in a worse situation or in a situation where they were allowed to fucking wild out even more. But Doug, and I just wanted to run this by y'all because I was like, damn, did I hear that right, Doug? I don't know if I heard what you said. But did he light a group of kids on fire?
Not him. There was another kid named Doug that we don't see.
Nah, I'm talking about the Hispanic dude sitting in the blue recliner. Didn't he say that he went to a group home or whatever and that niggas was bothering him and trying to do all kinds of crazy stuff and he barricaded the room and lit it on fire?
He did.
Yeah, you're right.
So
I didn't forget about that part, but you're right.
So he murdered people.
I don't think nobody died. They didn't say nobody died. I think they got him out of there, but
nobody died because he didn't go to jail. He ended up in a lawn. So
he answer tried to kill the niggas. Yeah.
So when we are done, I want y'all to fast forward to the end when they're like talking about when they say the word murder. I'll even find it myself and tell y'all where they say the word murder and they show him. before they show the Kennedy cousin.
Yeah, real shit. I mean,
they did. Maybe it's just bad editing, but we'll see.
Maybe.
It could have been. J Book.
So, okay. Anyway, the point, the reason I stopped you was just to make sure that, like, yeah, a lot of these kids are having, like, really bad, like, home situations, but the transition from Elon is usually from, like, well after them being removed out of that original situation. So.
Right. So they're in foster homes and group homes. And, like, the one girl, what was her name?
Which one? Avril Lavigne?
No, the one that had
Avril.
No, not Avril. I know who you're.
The one that said she graduated and went straight to college. She was the hell.
No, not Tracy. Hold on, I'm gonna find her name. Jayla, because it was weirdly spelled.
Jayla. The bigger set, the heavier set
girl. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically she was saying that she was removed from the situation with her parents and that she was being put in foster homes and group homes. But she was saying that until she got to the foster homes and the group homes, the shit that she got sent to Elon for, like, she didn't know how to do any of it. Like, she didn't know drugs or skipping school or any of that shit. Right. So basically, aside from her parents being, like, shitty and abusive and that being her reason for being removed from their care, like, she was not a bad kid. Yeah. She basically just got introduced to all this shit through the other people that she was in group homes with.
But I mean, if we really look at it and kind of with what y'all started out with, a lot of these kids wouldn't have been here had they had responsible parents.
Oh, well, God, no.
You know what I mean? We watch kids get put in a very volatile, destructive, horrible situation due to the fact that they were categorized as bad kids, all because they had shitty parents.
Right.
And that's really the sad part about it, is if you think about it, like, that's why they were there. They did these things. They were drinking, smoking, fucking whatever.
Straight West Coast then.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But they wanted it all brand new socks and drawers. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like the one they want to chill every time they stop and talk to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Yet. Right. They had good parents. You know what I mean? You never know. And I think, you know what I mean, for me, like, that was one of the biggest things, like, going into this, and just especially how it starts out and it's talking about the, like, why, like, how Elon came about, the stuff before it, and blah, 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 blah. And it's very gendering now it gets into it. And when it smacks you, like, it's like, oh, shit, these kids really aren't supposed to be here.
No, a lot of them weren't.
Do we want to talk about how Elon came to be and Joe Ritchie?
Go right ahead.
Yeah. So Joseph Ritchie, he's what, the executive director or some shit?
Basically, he created the Elon School. And I guess the back kind of story that we get, we sit with another interviewer person that we have whose name is Maya, who is recovering from a drug addiction, but she kind of is a journalist, and we have some discussions with her about the psychology behind some of these places.
Right.
But basically, he's just kind of talking about how this all kind of came about because they started having these kind of self-improvement, non-behavioral based approaches to getting clean and sober, right? It started out as being like this idea of like getting people back on track after the whole counterculture situation. Oh, we don't want you to do drugs and alcohol. We're going to get everybody back on the straight and narrow. And so this guy comes up with this idea that's, okay, AA is cool, but we need something more aggressive than AA because AA is not going to work for everybody. And you know,
AA, but make it violent, like
right? He's like, NA, you know, is there, but why would I send them to NA when I could just create some new shit?
Yeah, actually, that's Jack Hurst, right?
Great.
Joe Ritchie is the executive director of Elon, but the actual idea of Elon and shit came from Jack Hurst, and we'll get in. Let me just make sure we're not messing anything. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I guess we can do it now. It doesn't matter. So he created Synanon, which was a super popular. I don't want to call them rehabilitation centers. I don't know what to call these things. Like treatment centers.
It was more of an idea than the center itself.
That's true.
It's like behavioral treatment,
but like all of those words are like so like hard to like define this because nobody was fucking
therapy. That was the word given to it once they pretty much tried to take it from, oh, we're gonna put this name on it to make it sound like what it isn't to actually what the fuck it is. And it's attack therapy. And the dude, like you said, Jack, who started it, was more like, yeah, people need people.
Right.
And so let's have druggies around ex-drug addicts.
Right.
And that should help. And it sounded good, but he introduced belittling you and breaking you down and making you feel like shit because of your drug habit in hopes that it would shake some shit up. And
right. And this isn't really like a foreign idea though, because people always say like, you gotta, everything's the darkest before it gets, like, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody's kind of into that, like, get to the very end of the line, get to the very breaking point, and then that'll fix you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that though the attack therapy is kind of like,
let's
them trying to force you. Let me get you there right now, right?
Right.
But yeah, like they said, Synanon was ran by ex-addicts, and like the idea sounds like a good idea, but you just can't have people trying to help other people that don't have any like certifications to be trying to help people. Like that's kind of the issue. So let's see. So at this point, we're kind of introduced to like how Elon kind of works, right? Like how you get there, right? And it's not like a situation where like your parents drive you down like college and shit, like you got your hamper and shit up on the roof. It's not like that. Definitely not like where they're like gonna meet you like in a neutral place and you get on like the Greyhound and then you go, like, not like that either. It's kind of like you were dead sleep at like 3 a.m. and then it like 4 niggas just come into your room that are significantly bigger than you, and they're like, yo, get the fuck up. We're about to go to school. We about to leave. Like, and you're awake. Imagine if 4 niggas stepped into your room right now and was like, get up, VJ. Like, you're like, you have a lot of questions and you're probably not just going to go. Like, so people are fighting these people. People are trying to run away. All of these things, and like their parents are there and saying that this is the best for you. Like, I don't know what else to do. Like,
we're doing this because
we love you. But like, I'm not letting a nigga like fucking ninja sneak up on my kid, like to get him up out of.
But you know
we're not doing that. You guys can come after breakfast. I'm not doing this with y'all.
Look, this also goes to show how like a lot of conversations we be having, especially talks we have offline about how the world works today. Back in those days, they just trusted the fact that this school was legal. It was there. The government wouldn't allow this to happen if it wasn't.
They took my money.
Right. I paid my money. So I don't know where the fuck my kid's going. I don't know who these people are you sent to my house to get my kid. I've never even been to the location where you're taking my child.
So I'm just trusting that these 4 people that you sent to get my kid are not rapists, pedophile, murderers.
At 3 a.m.
in the fucking morning.
That my kid is going to actually get to Elon and not be fish bait in an ocean by the time the sun comes up.
Yeah.
And I've given you my money. Like, it could very well be. I'm
just saying, very well just fucking stab these niggas.
The check's already cleared. Like, who's to say these 4 people aren't gonna like traffic your kid and send them to fucking Malaysia, and then you get postcards from the Elon school and they're like, oh, they ran away. Right. Oh, they ran away. We weren't able to track them. Oh, sorry,
girl.
And since we already mentioned that their parents had to pay, for y'all who have not seen this, the fucking yearly salary for 1 year at Elon was $54,900.
By 2011, it got up to $54,960.60 a year.
Come on, man.
For a nigga to yell at you. Okay, so.
No. We are in the wrong.
If my parents showed me a check they were about to write for some niggas to scare me straight, I will act better. Like,
quick.
You don't give them that $54,000. Let me get 15. I'm gonna set up my shit, and now I'm CEO of my own shit. Like, what is happening? Like, what? Don't know what is this? Like,
I just want to point out.
I will wash the fucking dishes, Mom. Like, you're being way too hasty. Like,
I just want to point out that $54,000 to $56,000, as they did a documentary with those 2 people sitting on the couch about the cost, and I really want to know whose parents they actually the fuck are. Like, I'm intrigued to know whose parents those were.
Which one of those? Right, real shit.
Like, I'm intrigued. Maybe their kid is not in the documentary, but I just really want to know who the fuck those people are who justify spending $50,000 a year at Elon school. And just for reference, because I looked it up and I couldn't quite remember, the current cost of attendance at University of Texas, where I did undergraduate, in-state tuition is a little under $11,000. So we're $10,824 a semester
for a year.
Right. So nothing close to, so essentially, all in all, with all things considered, for a little bit more than the cost of 1 year of tuition at Elon, you can get a 4-year undergrad degree at the University of Texas.
4 years.
And that is the case with most in-state.
And I want to remind you guys that when y'all leave Elon, y'all not getting a diploma.
Right, like they're essentially getting a GED. Like they're essentially getting a GED.
I mean, are you really getting a GED? Because remember, my man said he came out and went to school, and he said I didn't even know how to read the books.
I would say that I think school regulations may have changed a bit between the time that he got out the time he went, other kids did. Because he seems a bit older than they are.
Yeah, he was there in the 70s.
Yeah, because when the other kids were talking about it, they said they left and went straight to college, or they left and did whatever. So they were getting. So at some point, somebody regulated something and said they have to learn.
Yeah, because this nigga can't read still. So
right, and poor Mary was legally blind, and they just had her out there like, "Fuck it, Mary."
Right.
Nigga, that shit blew my fucking mind when I heard this bitch was legally blind. Like, these niggas was just yelling at you for shit you probably,
that you couldn't control.
Like, she couldn't even fucking see. Mary knocked over the pots in the kitchen, and Mary's like, what?
Right. I didn't see them. Like,
oh my God. So yeah, so some of these kids tell us, like, for instance, Tracy says that, you know, she was partying, doing drugs, whatever. And her parents basically tell her, we really want you to try to get your act together. You need to change some things. We're going to send you to boarding school. Tracy, I guess in her mind was like, maybe this is for the best. Tracy doesn't really put up a fight about going to see the boarding schools.
Right.
I think like,
cool. Let me pack my bag. I'm going to tell all my homegirls I'll see them on Monday.
Right.
Like, all good. Like, I'm going to put my jellies in the bag. You feel me? Like, I'm right. Like, let's go. Like,
they get on the plane. And she looking around and she was like, yo, this is not going to Massachusetts. And the mom and daddy just looked at her and said, hey girl, plane's going to Maine. So sorry. Yeah. And they just end up at Elon and they basically walk her up to the door and they tell her, you got 6 minutes to say goodbye. And she's like giving her dad the, why is this weird nigga trying to buy me a drink at the bar look.
You just gonna let him just take me?
He giving her daddy the SOS blink and he's like, I'm
but
sorry.
Then remember she said they were not only telling her that she had 6 minutes, but they was going buck on her in front of her parents, pretty much like, you say anything disrespectful to your parents, we gonna do this, do that. Like, but in front of the parents. And she said, you know, her and her mom always had issues. So her mom was kind of like, bitch, I got explain. But her dad was hurt. But, you know, somebody clearly the decision had already been made. So,
yeah, he got to go back home and shit with her. So,
right.
But they send them and they have to take something called like a quail shower. Is that what they were calling it?
Quail,
yeah. Which is like
delicing
and shit. Like,
if any nigga that's been in jail, for real, been in jail, know what the fuck that is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to jail. I've just heard the stories. But when you see
okay. I was like, really?
Well, go ahead.
The longest I've been in jail was 72 hours on a lockup. That was it. Never been to no real jail. Anyway.
Okay, so what have you heard?
Yes, what are the stories?
About the niggas for real getting the motherfucking hose down, that water sprayed in their ass. You made the spread your butt cheeks. They throw that lye powder on you and shit. Pretty much they treat you like shit. They're washing you down as if you are coming in there as like a diseased animal.
Oh my God, were they German shepherds? Like what the fuck?
Right, that's what it sounds like, right? So yeah, they throw what is it, lye on you for the lice, and then hit you with the fucking hose.
So basically, it's like a human car wash. They just throwing shit on you.
Yeah, and they stripping you down. They trying to strip your humanity from you from the time you come through the door.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think they try from and again now.
Did you find something? Because I'm over here looking.
No, I just was like, I'm listening. I'm sorry. Sometimes I can't fix my face. I was just listening to this, and I'm just like, I don't ever want to go to jail. Jesus.
Right.
Yeah, now, I'm cool.
The beautiful part about this, which was not beautiful at all, for all of y'all who have not watched this yet, is that these showers, when you go to prison, these showers are given to you by COs and prison guards and people who get a fucking paycheck and have been trained to do these things. These things were happening to these children, and they were being done by other fucking children.
Other kids.
These were not
other kids that have just been there a year longer or 6 months longer than them.
And you know what I mean? It gets into the part of talking about when you get to this house, you know what I mean? You come in as a worker, you have a job to do. Everybody, pretty much everybody has a job to do in the community.
Yeah. But wait, we'll get there. We'll get there.
No, yeah,
yeah.
For sure.
Because when they first show up, they all have a story about being taken to these Elon numbered houses, and they go in the house, and shit was wild. Like shit was already wild when they hit the door.
People are scrubbing the grounds with toothbrushes. People are standing and facing the corners. People are getting yelled at.
Signs on.
People have poster boards that say like, "I'm a pussy. Ask me why I can't express my feelings." Yeah. Like shit like that. Like, and so this is like the first day when you get your dorm assignment, you go in the dorm, but on the other corner of your dorm room is somebody fucking with a sign that says that, or is standing in the corner, or is getting like belittled this close to their face. Just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so a bunch of strict rules, and we'll get into like who could talk to who and shit, but like you couldn't talk to people. But like their main technique in Elon school, to me, seemed to just be humiliation. Like finding a way to like embarrass somebody to their core, like really like make them like super never forget that this happened, and like always have this in the back of their mind before they do anything. You know what I'm saying? So let's say I like VJ did something and broke one of the rules at Elon, right? And so I'm like, yo, but I'm yelling, right? But I'm not gonna do that serious. But like, I'm like, yo, I can't believe you, VJ. I'm so upset with you. And again, this is very like PG because it would be like way worse. It'd be like, you stupid ass bitch. But it'd be like,
you horrible whore, cunt, slore. I can't believe you wanted to hold that boy's hand for 3 seconds outside in the yard and look at you, and it's fucked up, and now you're gonna be here forever, and you ruined your parents' marriage, and that's why your
parents are so ashamed of you. Like, so that's so okay. So I'm yelling at VJ, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm done. Penrose, you got some thoughts on this? Like, if Penrose jump in,
right?
Tag team. But they would put them, and then keep in mind, this is the 3 of us. They would put these children like on. They would be like, "Come up here," and put them on the stage in front of all the other kids. Let one kid start yelling, and then just be like, "Does anybody else have thoughts?" And they would literally,
and then everybody rushes.
Yeah.
Jumps up out of the chairs at a general assembly, rushes up to this child, and it's just a bunch of other kids screaming and yelling in their face.
Now, mind you, though, you could be up there because you're not smart, so you have a dunce cap on. You could be up there because, like she said, you got a sign on that says, "I'm a pussy and I'm afraid to show my emotions." You could be up there because you motherfucking, for anything. The dude said a motherfucker had a general meeting because his shoelace was untied.
Yes.
And they literally screamed at this kid at the top of their lungs and said all the most disgusting shit you could ever think because my man forgot to tie his shoe.
Somebody picked up a pencil once, and they had a general meeting for that.
Because they said that he stole it because he didn't stop and raise his hand to ask everybody in the room when he found the pencil whose pencil it was to give it back to them, and instead he just pocketed it. And then he got in trouble for it. See, he had to attend one of these things. And so also, here's my question. Go ahead.
Before we get to that, he got that not only because he did that, but there's a book. I forgot the name of the book, but there's a person, whoever is the overseer of that day, walks around with this book. People can say, somebody such and such
incident book or something.
The incident book, and they call it dropping slips. So
and they can say such and such did this. My name's Derek. I want to put it on Sean that he stole a pencil, and they come to you. Hey, we heard you stole a pencil.
Hey, Sean, that's true or false?
Valid or invalid. It doesn't matter if you say it was valid or not, and you can try to give an explanation. But at the end of the day, they're gonna be like, "Great, general meeting. Don't give a fuck that you didn't do it." Everybody yell.
You a thieving ass bitch.
Yeah, like they gonna set it off regardless. Like it doesn't matter. Like
so here's my question. So now that you guys kind of know what general meetings look like in a line, do you have to break people to fix them? Like
no.
I don't think so.
Why are there so many institutions and things fixed on that idea? Like, where do we get that from? Like,
because I think that the definition of being broken is very skewed. Only reason I'll say that is because, again, being in the military, you one band, one sound was it was iconic. You had to have that. And you can only have that by breaking motherfuckers. You see what I'm saying? So there was certain shit that they did to us that did take you out of who you were and made you a sailor. But it wasn't abusive. I didn't ever feel bad about my motherfucking self. You know what I mean? I never felt like I was a piece of shit. I just had to know that I'm a black kid from the city of Detroit. That's a white kid from Iowa. That's a Spanish kid from fucking LA. And you can't see that. You just have to see a sailor. So I think when we hear the term broken, it just gets it's a very strewn concept. And motherfuckers misuse the word. So I do think
broken, it would be more of like breaking you out of yourself to like,
to
right?
assimilate
like
to the group. Yeah.
Breaking out of your own.
I'm not the only important person here. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
So that type of thing.
Which is necessary, right? You can't join the military and be and expected to remain an individual in that regard. Like that does not function in that way.
Right. And see, that's the thing. When you come in, you kind of think that. You come in, there was a white boy who literally told me, he was like, I like you, you're a good guy. Can we talk about being black? And I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, literally, I've never seen a black person in life and like had any black interaction.
That's so strange.
Till he came.
That actually makes me not want to talk to you. Like,
and I don't think they get that. Like, I think that's the horrible. Like, we don't want to make this a whole racism like aside.
No.
But it's just like I've had something similar happen, and it's always very weird because it's like you don't want to talk to them because you're like, motherfucker, you're strange. Like, what do you mean you don't know anyone?
What are you about to ask me? Like
it's very odd. But
what's going to come out of your mouth?
I think about it now, and I'm like, well, now I know that there are certain things in society that operate. Are people in the world who probably have never seen a black person outside of
the
TV
wonderful whites of West Virginia. I bet they ain't never seen a nigga.
Right. I mean, and I think it's right. It comes from isolation or where you live or who you're around, and they don't have control over that. And so I think as an adult, you can see it for what it is. But, 18, 19, 20, like you cannot run up on me talking about you don't know any black people and expect me to be receptive to what the fuck you're asking me. It feels very microaggressive. And they weren't like, talk to me about black people. But I remember going to cheerleading camp and there were these girls who had never met black people in person, and they kept wanting to touch our hair and ask us questions about it. And they could not for the life of them understand why it was disrespectful to want to put your hand in someone's hair like they're a fucking chinchilla. Like, bitch, I am not a pet. Move. Right. But they didn't get it. And I don't think there was any malicious intent there. Like the guy, I don't think he meant it in a malicious in way. Like the intent was not there. It's just very off-putting when as black people, we have to always have our, like, I can't say I don't know any white people.
Right. I wish.
Anyway. I can't want to touch your stringy ass dry hair.
I get the idea. Like I can look at something though and get the gist of it. Like I don't need to like
weird about wanting to touch it. And it's like I can look at you and know I don't want to like why do you touch?
I mean, sometimes they don't even ask. So there's that. Like,
at least they did that. So God bless them. Their mom and daddy gave them some manners. They just didn't know black people. They were very well mannered. They just didn't know any black people. So God bless them. So they had these houses set up with like zones. Is that what we had going?
Yeah.
Kitchen, communication, security, administrative, something.
Right.
Zones. And the kids all had to work in the zones. And then they had a hierarchy in the zones, and it just was setting these kids up to be workers in the capitalism wheel.
This was the Stanford experiment at a fucking like on steroids.
Yep, prisoners running the prison.
Exactly.
True.
You know what I mean?
Now, I want to just really pinpoint that Elon did start out basically as an extension of AA, because we mentioned that earlier. Right. But it did start out just for alcoholics, and then it kind of branched out to all those things like your runaways.
Because now, remember, what's the name came from? What was it called? Daytopia, Daytop, some shit. Joe Ritchie, he was a former addict who felt the training and the help that he got at one of these places was sufficient, and so he started his own.
And I will point out here that it also, Elon is different because it starts like this whole thing of it being about teenagers, right? Yeah, it starts the troubled teen market for these places.
Right.
Because at first it was alcoholics or narcotics or whatever, and these people were adults going
Everybody
through.
Right. 20s.
Everyone was grown up here who was voluntarily signing up to be there.
Right. And so that's actually how you get your first set of Elon staff members, is that they were alcoholics that graduated the program there and they decided to stay. So now you've got a bunch of ex-alcoholics inviting these kids that are runaways. Kids are sent to Elon, guys, just for liking boys and shit. Like, just because she want to see what a dick look like. Like, so she has to go to Elon.
Because their family's religious and they feel like she's boy crazy. So now these children got to go to Elon.
Yep. Right. If you're pregnant, you got to go to Elon. If you've been accused of rape, they start letting you go to Elon. If you were a known gang member, they start letting you go to Elon. If you were a known robber, they would start letting you go to Elon. Murderers have gone to Elon. And then if you had like autism or something like that, like they were just at this point, and again, it all started from being just about alcoholics, and somehow now all these alcoholics are sufficient enough to help all these things I just said.
Right. And eventually it was just, if you can open your purse and cut a check, then your kid is a horrible case and can come to Elon.
Their problem is big enough for us.
We can fix them as long as your check clears, is what it really turned into. And it's unfortunate because even though I believe that there is a certain level of redemption for children, right? Because your brain doesn't fully form, and I'm on the, and I don't want to have a discussion capital, but we'll save that for a different day. But I think that a lot of times when we're talking about criminality and children, not necessarily move children for you to then put people who are convicted of serious offenses with people who are being put at a lawn because they have autism. Like, something about that does not sit right with the spirit. Right. I'm not saying that any of those children deserve to go there, but certainly if you are assaulting and robbing people, I don't know that the Elon school is necessarily the best form of, like, I don't know that was good.
Is an ex-alcoholic going to be able to stop you from doing those things?
Right.
Right. And especially and they're not addressing any of the underlying issues. And I think that is the major problem with what is going on here. You are asking people who have graduated this program with no real life skills or social skills. They know there's nothing waiting for them on the outside. So they agreed to stay there and work there.
Mm-hmm. These people.
And then they're running therapy sessions where these kids have real motherfucking problems.
Right.
These kids are not alcoholics because they just pick up the vodka bottle too much. Like, these kids have real serious issues and are being sexually abused or whatever, or getting knocked through the goddamn walls at their house or whatever. And you're saying that an alcoholic that just graduated your program a year ago and is still struggling with sobriety is somehow qualified.
Fucking therapy coach.
Right. To be like, what?
So because you don't drink anymore, you can tell me how to deal with the fact that my dad is sexually abusing me or my mom is beating on me or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like, and again, it goes to show the time that the fucking world was in, because nobody went and checked to say that nobody on his fucking staff has any legal training. There was, like the one girl said, I never seen a psychiatrist my entire time there. I never saw a psychologist my entire time.
I mean, they had a psychiatrist.
Who?
They did have
somebody that was labeled as one.
Yeah, she shows up later. But I will say that I think that she was a recent installment there, and that probably happened very close to the time they started to close.
I know you, and that was the lady that decided to talk out against him, right? When the book came out.
Different lady.
No, different lady.
Like she's like they basically like flash her up there talking and like put that she's like the staff behavioral therapist or some shit.
Therapist.
I definitely missed that shit. Man.
Like it was like like literally she was on screen for 30 seconds. So
it wasn't even that, I don't think. So since VJ mentioned that like anybody who had enough money could go here, I think this is probably where we'll just very quickly want to talk about Martha Moxley.
Go ahead.
The reason I bring that up is because Michael, is it Skakel?
Skakel, yeah. I remember he came back to tell this story though too.
Well, so I need some clarification. Did the Martha Moxley thing happen and then he went to Elan, right?
No.
He was sent to Elan low key by his family because of the Martha Moxley shit.
Well, here's the thing: nobody got charged in that murder for. He was an adult, like he was a grown ass 40-year-old.
This was actually no one got charged or even like thought about it until we started until we start investigating Elan.
Right. Because
nobody would even knew that story.
Knew that it happened, right?
Correct. So basically, she does get murdered, and the Skakel children were already kind of.
You guys can totally like look up that story. It's Martha Moxley.
Yeah, I'm covering on Murder.
Are you going to cover it?
I'm going to cover it at some point. It's just it's a difficult story to tell because it's unsolved and there's a lot of twists and turns. But Michael Skakel and his brother were like spoiled, rotten ass kids living in Greenwich, Connecticut. Their mom and daddy didn't give a fuck. They had money to like blow. They're like fucking Kennedys.
Yeah, they're Kennedy cousins. Yeah.
So this murder shit happens, and basically he's already doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. Drugs, whatever. So her getting murdered was what directly got him sent to Elan because he was already on a one-way ticket anyway. So he just ended up at Elan for his other behavior.
Right.
And somehow in that, in one of those therapy sessions and allegedly screamed at for other shit, he admitted to being a murderer.
Now, this shows something else about those fucking therapy sessions because remember, they were talking about how at some point you can just let your shit out. This is what this was about. You just feel whatever the fuck you got going on to let it out. And they had times where they can curse back and forth at each other. And I think just with all of the chaos in the room, yes, I'm happy that this man got arrested because that was some horrible shit to do. But do you honestly think that this kid wanted to sit in front of a group of 60-some kids and admitted that he murdered somebody? Because now remember, what happened was Michael
he was in the rain.
Away. He ran away and he got caught. And when they remember the lady says that because once y'all watch this, y'all will see how they talk about having different hierarchies and these people called
we'll get into it in just a second.
Expediter.
The expediter.
We'll get into it in just a second. Yep.
Right. So one of the girls was doing her job. A kid goes out the back to take the trash out. She forgets he's there. She closes the door. That kid just so happened to be Michael Skakel. He fucking runs away. They find him. Anytime a kid ran away and they brought him back, they would beat the shit out of this kid. And as they're beating the fuck out of him and kicking him and beating the shit out of his ass, he admits in this fucking group setting that he murdered this girl or
all of those years ago.
But then he says,
or it wasn't all of those years ago. No.
What they said was he said, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Then he says, I don't know if I did it. And somehow they get away from it. And then that's when we find out years later, again, once they investigated it, Elan.
Right. Once a murder investigation is looked at with fresh eyes, they are looking at him as a suspect, and it comes up that he was at Elan school and maybe admitted to murdering her. The thing about this is very much like a coerced confession from the police. They obviously legally are not supposed to be able to beat you to force you to give a confession for something. Not saying that they aren't doing it. I'm just saying that legally they're not supposed to be able to beat you to get you to coerce a confession out of you for anything. And so for me, it sounded a lot like they just beat him until he agreed. I mean, I'm not saying he did or didn't murder her because he's out of jail. So I'm not saying he did or didn't murder anybody. But what I'm saying is that you certainly cannot beat somebody into submission and expect anything they say to be true.
That's true. Yeah. So did he just disappear?
He put us on mute. He'll be back. Do you want to talk about the hierarchy in the?
Yes. So, Basically, because of all of the treatment and like the fucking attack therapies and these general meetings, kids were basically doing whatever they needed to move up so that they could get that less, right? Like get like
and how you
less
get
of
up,
that.
The closer you are to getting out of there.
Right. So you've got what were they called? The
non-strengths.
Non-strengths.
Non-strengths for workers and ramrods.
Right. So basically your worker is the person scrubbing the ground like Quavo, and then
the
like
ramrods were checking work.
Where the army white glove come behind you checking people.
Right.
Now the non-strengths could not speak to each other.
Right.
Or to any strength.
No, you can only speak to each other if a strength
allowed
monitoring your conversation. Now, how fucked up is it that you did some work and the nigga's coming to check your work, but he can't even tell you if your work is good or not?
It's good or not. He used to be like,
unless somebody is there to monitor the conversation.
Come on,
right.
And keep in mind that their mail is also monitored. So if you write a letter to your parents saying this shit is fucked up, and I know that I was really bad, but I promise you, I will go to school every day and I will not do drugs and I will not do shit else if you will just come pick me up. Because yesterday, 60 children screamed at me and then they beat me with a paddle.
Yep.
And they're gonna read it and they're gonna throw it in the garbage and they're gonna write you up for being like, you know that your mother don't know all of the shit that be going on here, and I can't believe you tried to tell her.
Right.
You're in trouble.
General never got the letter.
Yeah. Right. And they would screen your phone call. So it's not like when you called and your parents were like, oh, we miss you so much. How are you doing? Or do you like it there? You well tell the truth and be like, to be honest, this place is wildly abusive and I wish you would call the cops. And be like, oh no, it's so great. I'm learning so much.
Right.
Gonna get out and go to Harvard. My God.
If you did it, they were writing the notes that you were being manipulative on your phone.
Somebody would drop a slip on you and say you were being manipulative to your parents by telling them that you were being yelled at by 80 other children.
Right. Right.
You have to buy into the abuse.
So after the ramrod, you get into your strengths, right? So you've got your expediter, which is basically like the cops,
security,
and then you've got the department heads, which are like your Michael Scotts, like they run the whole whatever
type.
Right. Yeah, like whatever dorm y'all in, like the manager, he's the dorm manager of that whole dorm.
Or like when you go to college, what's the nigga name? Your RA.
The RA, yeah. Basically. Then above them you've got the shingle, which is basically like chief of police. And then you got
so disgusting as a term.
I didn't like the shingle. I didn't like that.
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't like that.
And then above them you have the coordinator, which is this is the house runner. So yeah, so the department head is like the RA,
right? And
then the coordinator is the house runner. So he basically makes sure or schedules whatever the fuck you guys are doing for the day, and that's that on that.
Right.
And then they had reentry staff, was basically people that graduated the program and just stayed on the staff.
Right. Reentry were the staff. Yeah. These niggas supposedly graduated. They're good to go. Hoorah. And now they become your therapist and your counselors and your...
No formal education whatsoever.
Basically, they're saying they went to school at
niggas
night.
That have been yelled at.
Right.
And they said they went to school for a few hours at night. And I was like, well, what the fuck? So you work these children into the ground all day. And then you want them to do algebra at night.
And then you got kids that's 15, 16, 18, 19, different ages.
How are they all going to school together? That's the part I didn't get.
Listen.
Why was everybody going in the same class?
19, how did Spot run, bitch? Like, tell me how Spot ran.
Spot ran good.
You're running too fast. You're reading too fast for everybody else in the room. I know you're 19, but you're reading way too fast. Again, what does Spot do?
Yeah, it was super weird. So they have like 3 cardinal rules at Elon: no drugs, no sex, no violence.
Yep.
So don't be.
And they encourage tattling on each other, obviously, as we've just told you guys a couple of times now. What was a haircut, guys? Explain what a haircut was.
That was the beating, wasn't it?
Nope, that was the ring.
No. The haircut is when when everybody got in your shit and got to screaming at you and cursing at you and all of that.
Oh, okay. So that was the haircut of the meeting.
It was the
basically you'd be in those encounter groups.
Yeah.
And that's when they could yell and cuss and whatever. And
no. So no. This was the more intimate one. Remember? Because you had the general meeting one, but then you had the ones where you was in front of the 4 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real shit. That's what the haircut was. You would get written up for something, and then they would take you in a room, they would close the door, and they said it would be like 4 or 5 of them in there. And they would just be going the fuck off on you because, like the girl said, and VJ kind of alluded to it earlier, one of the girls said they were in school, the lights went out, all the electricity went out, and her and the boy that she like snuck and held hands for 5 fucking seconds in the dark. Either he snitched or somebody somehow knew about this and wrote it up and said they would come to her, what is your guilt? And she's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And she said that's the only thing she can think of. So she copped to that as her guilt. And they take her in this room and they start berating her. And she has to wear the sign that I held his hand for 5 seconds, so I'm a whore. Now, mind you, this is a girl who's been sexually abused and raped by her father for the majority of her life
since she was 4 years old.
Since she was 4 years old. At this time, I think she was like 15 or 16 when she went to this place.
And they made her dress up, didn't they?
That was a different girl.
Oh, that was a different girl with the. It was a different girl back in the 70s.
The older dude talked about the girl that was dressed up. They made her dress like a whore and sing a song.
And they sang that song,
yeah. And so that was the
like that song.
They would take you in a room with 4 or 5 of these.
Seem a little too
happy to recite that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was singing it with a little smile on his face.
Like too much dip on his chip when he was singing
it. He looked like he says nigga a lot.
Yeah. And so they would put him into these costumes. Like that.
Remember dude's friend. I forgot the dude's name that was telling the story, but he said his friend came to them and was like, hey,
the house dog.
And he was like, Elon 3 has a great golden retriever. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a house dog? Well, guess who the fuck became the house dog? They literally
put this kid, asked it.
Dog. They put this kid in a dog costume, made him eat out of a dog dish, made him learn tricks. He could bark once for yes, twice for no.
And he had to walk around
on all fours. And I think he was the house dog for like 2-3 months, some shit like that.
Yeah. What kind of shit is that?
Right. This is not, I'm telling y'all, the shit we telling y'all, they was making motherfuckers. This wasn't some shit that you think is like hazing. And think about the time you heard one of your people pledge and you was like, damn, they took y'all through that. And imagine how long Hell Week is. It's a fucking week. These kids were sometimes some of the shit they were going through were months. As long as they wanted to.
So they decided
as long as they wanted to. Because your parents weren't coming to get you. Right. Because everything's fine.
Yep.
So Kim.
Also, wait, hold on. Before we get to Kim Freehill, the only other thing. So we did the wear signs, the costumes, and then let's talk about the pods where they were assigning niggas. They were assigning niggas ceramic tiles on the floor.
Spaces.
So you would get 9 fucking ceramic tiles, and that's where you spent. Like Perot said, anywhere from that day to months. You would stay. You would be in there.
And you were just standing there, and that's where you got to be. Now, this is what would happen if you ran away. Yeah. You either got the cuffs on the ankles and the crazy ass costume, or you got beat up, and then or all those things would happen, and then you would still have the pod.
And not only the pods, the fucking corner.
Yeah,
they put you. If you weren't in a pod, my nigga, they said they would stand you in a corner till you couldn't stand anymore, and then you would have to sit in that corner, and this is where you are for like months.
Okay, so the question about the bathroom.
You have if you're a worker, then you have to ask a ramrod who has to ask a
but you can't ask the ramrod unless there's a strength around to hear y'all talking to each other.
And then that person has to go get permission from pretty much by the time you get allowed to pee, it's probably 20, 30, 40 minutes later than when you realize you had to piss.
And this is not just for people that are stuck in pods. This is literally for all the kids that are there. If you are a
non-straight by yourself, you go to the restroom with someone else.
Oh yeah, even when you go to the restroom, right? Somebody expediter or above is with you. You cannot.
Your food alone. Will come to the pod. Everything will come to where you are.
Somebody would be assigned to come to you. Like when you sat in the corner, they would have one person that you could talk to, and that person would sit there, and they're supposed to be your like an emotional support dog. Or
that's
whatever.
What they call an emotional support person, right? Yep. I don't know. Now, mind you, Now, mind you, I'm in the corner. VJ's my emotional support person. As much emotional support she can give me, Chris can come up and curse me out at any given fucking time. She can move my emotional support person out the way and just berate me for anything. I might not even know you.
For fidgeting too much in the corner.
Right.
Right. So they think, you piece of shit, you won't even take your punishment like a man. And then I got to sit there with my paper and be like, do you want to talk about it? And then
how does this make you feel?
Right.
And then when you say, I'm really angry at her, I really don't like that she came and yelled at me, I gotta drop a clip and tell everybody you told me that you didn't like those girls you didn't know.
Penrose didn't like the way he got yelled at today. And then now you got to go into a room of 100 people and get yelled at about how you don't get to fucking say who you don't like yelling at you.
You're the one in the fucking corner. I do not like shit.
Can I just say that some of them niggas was struggling to like find things to
right.
And I'm like, pass the mic, my nigga, pass the mic.
You can see it. And that one girl said that if you were too good, they would just scream at you for being too good. Like if you went to Elon and your only problem was that your parents thought you were on a path of destruction because you smoked weed at the Grateful Dead concert. Now you stuck in Elon and you be like, fuck it. It was not worth it. I will never smoke weed again. And you really buy into the program and you scrub the floors and you tell on everybody and do exactly what they tell you.
And they be like, you're doing too much. Like, you in here doing too much, bitch.
All right.
You're doing too much.
Bitch to face. You're out. And they dropping a slip on you and calling you out. Like you could
there. This bitch brought it into the plan. He
was a little too excited in encounter group. Right?
Can't believe he displayed that many true emotions.
She scrubbed the floor with alacrity, and my God, it sparkled, and I'm pissed. Like
she didn't show she was irritated with the job that I gave her. Like
she scrubbed the floor with a smile.
As much as we sitting there having these laughs, you know, we do very well of being able to laugh about anything. There's a story that's told here that because we're in this realm, I think we could talk about this. And I can't remember the young lady's name, but they're berating her and talking about her, and she literally pees on herself.
Right, that's
she
Kim.
Pees on herself.
Oh, that's Kim Freehill. We could totally get into. So let's get into how it starts.
All right,
so she comes in. She's super wealthy, right? Mm-hmm. She was like the way they were describing. I was getting like Carrie Bradshaw at like a Holiday Inn. So she's there, and she gets lice like first day in. Right. So she's like, "What the fuck?" Right? So now they got to do all that shit to her, and so she's just like, "I can't take it." So then I don't know how we get to the general meeting, but she gets the general meeting.
She gets lice while she's there.
Okay.
And after she gets the lice and has to go back through all the delousing, and they're all pissed off because they have to put all their pillows in the bags, and people have to burn clothes. Basically, everyone's mad at her because she got lice.
Yeah. Okay, so they give her a general meeting about it, and she's basically like, when I say she's literally losing her shit, she's literally losing her shit. Like, I don't know if it was the delousing. I don't know what it was. But like Penrose said, they're yelling. They're berating her just like they would normally do in a meeting. It's 100 kids in the room. And then she fucking pisses on herself in the general meeting. Yep. Then they like, oh, okay. So they take her out of the room. Everybody have a seat for a second till we get back. They hose her down until she's soaking wet. And then make her go back into the room.
And berate her some more.
To continue for people to berate her. So now I'm sure they're mentioning that she just pissed on herself. And then they spank her?
Yeah.
Right.
Now
then they get into the corporal punishment. So by the way, on top of me up because on top of everything else they're doing to these children, they're allowing other children to hit them with paddles. Now,
mind you though, when she gets to this point, she's no longer showing any kind of fucking emotion. She's gone.
She's gone.
Her shit is cracked, and she's literally
like she basically has a mental breakdown. And they intersperse this with like interviews with Joe Ritchie, and so he's saying, "Well, yeah, we have corporal punishment here, but the adults don't do it. The kids do it to each other, and it's only a couple of whacks with a paddle. It's not, them being beaten up or blah 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 blah." The kids come in every interview that we sit with, and they're like, yeah, I got beat up. Yeah, they just kept hitting me. They had 5 or 6 people hit me. Like, it was not the way he described it.
That's another military. That's another military thing. When we used to get our ass kicked in the military, you can only one RDC can beat you, which is work you out for 20 minutes, right? But they would have what's called ice cream parties, which is where they would call every RDC in the building because once his 20 minutes is up, by law, this next nigga didn't work you out for 20 minutes. It didn't say you can only work out for 20 minutes, but only one nigga can punish you for 20 minutes. And that's the shit I got from what he was saying. It's like, oh yeah, one kid hits and he only gets 2 or 3 whacks. But if it's fucking 20 kids lined up,
right, and
they all get 2 or 3 whacks, like what the fuck are we talking about?
Right. They beat her to the point to where she had basically like open sores that like stabbed over.
Because guys, remember she was soaking wet when they were hitting her.
Hitting her with a paddle 2 and 3 times per kid, 20-some kids. Said the girl said that she had blue and black welts that like scabbed up on her backside from the top of her knees, probably to her lower back.
And then they said she just disappeared.
Yeah, they never seen her again after that.
Well, Kim Freehill, wherever you are, I hope you are well. Is all I can say. I hope.
Well, no, isn't she the one who came back to testify?
That was the one they showed her later as an
adult. Oh shit, she was. She absolutely was. She testified in the second trial.
Kim's story is what led to the investigation of Alon and getting it shut down. Really, truly. Yep. I mean, like, there's some other stuff that like contributed to it, but really, Kim's story, because again, all of the information that we had before was Joe was saying like, oh, it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like 2 little smacks and it's all good. Like they're not describing all these other things.
Joe, a lot of people said that the reason that he wasn't investigated is because this nigga had mob ties. He won like a $17 million lawsuit against the bank or some shit like that.
Because they said he was.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Violation of his civil rights. Money off because they said he was tied to the mob. He sued them, won $17 million. So Joe was like that nigga. He really was like a person everybody in the area knew. So nobody was really investigating this nigga.
Which they basically
damn, Jesus.
So they basically do
it's thundering like a motherfucker outside, my bad.
They basically in like 1971 do like an investigation, the state of Maine does, and they just find no wrongdoing against the law. And they said they're running an up and up place, it's all good, the children are lovely, everything's great.
But we find out that that's because they were doing scheduled visitations.
Nigga, who the fuck goes and investigates cases of abuse and calls you and says, hey guys, we heard that you're abusing some kids and doing some very horrible shit.
We'll be out
be the best. When would be the best time for me to come see you?
Thursday at 3? How about we'll give you the 3:30? We'll be there.
Right.
And so every time the Maine department, health department, or the cops, whoever the fuck shows up, they find nothing. Which also scares me because now, again, it's sort of like that Jim Jones shit. Remember when those people got caught and they got took back? And the motherfucker was like, yeah, ain't shit going here at this motherfucking Jim Jones plantation. That same shit had to be happening with those kids. For people to show up and everybody's acting in tip-top shape and everybody's afraid to be like, bitch, no, look, I'm fucked up. Help me. I don't know if y'all seen the movie Doom, but they was talking with their fingers, bitch, help me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, dog, that's some crazy shit.
We mentioned... wait, who? Missy? Almost. We kind of discussed the ring, like what it was, right? Like,
oh no, we didn't really. We can get into the ring.
So just really quick, just again to stress the like crazy shit that was happening. So another one of the punishments was the ring. And it's not like a boxing ring like you think, but it is kind of a boxing ring.
So you definitely got an actual ring. The kids stood in a circle.
They locked arms and shit and kept you in a fucking circle, and people would take turns beating your ass. Yeah. And they were,
And they said it was reserved for bullies.
Yeah.
And that you would just get beat up.
They would put a kid in there that was bigger than you, and he's supposed to kick your ass. But if you beat his ass, they're sending a fresh kid in there. And if you beat 2 kids' ass, they're sending a third fresh kid to the point to where you could not win. Because no matter how long you fought, they would just send a new kid in there until you just were done. To the point to where one of the dudes said he went in there and he knew what it was about, that he literally just fell to the ground like, fuck it. I'm not about to fight back. I'm about to let you win because I'm not about to sit here and fight 6 and 7 fucking kids over this shit.
Right.
Exactly. You know, and then not only the guys go in the ring, but girls went in the ring, and you weren't just fighting the same gender. Sometimes girls had to fight dudes. Like this, like I ain't gonna front. At some point around here is where I kind of like when I hit y'all, I was like, "What's tears in my eyes?" Like I literally, some of this shit triggered me. I won't get into my own shit, but just to think like some of the shit I went through as a kid was fucked up, and my shit has nothing on what the fuck these children went through. And I was just like, "Yo, like who thought this okay?" Nigga, I wouldn't want to see no niggas my age go through no shit like this.
An alcoholic
thought this was okay for a fucking child, my dog. Like
an alcoholic.
Real shit. Real shit. That's exactly who. Because that's
a drug addict with $17 million in a racetrack.
That's exactly what he was. Yeah.
You know, they also mentioned something called electric sauce that they would pour on you, and I never understood what that was, but it looked like it didn't smell good.
It was old food. It was they said it was cigarette butts in it.
Toilet
old
water
food was in it.
Sewage, whatever they could find to put in it.
Yeah.
Oh. They were like
all over you, and then
they were pouring all over
what
you.
I got from it.
Yeah.
And be right to it. Then think of, and I know we about to move on, but I just one more thing about the humiliation. One of the girls caught syphilis, and her fucking punishment was to walk around with a fucking headband with
tampons,
so-called bloody tampons hanging from her head, and she was berated for having syphilis.
Which is
bitch, I didn't give it to myself.
No one is talking about how she got syphilis. She didn't get syphilis at Elan.
Right.
So it's like,
right.
I just didn't see what anything had to do with anything, but that seemed like that was one of the early, like 70s punishments. It had to be.
Yeah, it had to. That shit makes no sense.
One of my biggest things too, and then I'm gonna shut the fuck up. These kids were being punished for being kids. If you went up a rank and they found out you did something, they could shoot you down. So like the dude Doug, he said he got shot down twice for having sex. You're a fucking teenager around other fucking teenagers. It's kind of what we were doing. Like, you got shot down for goofing off. You and your man's supposed to be cleaning, and somebody caught y'all wrestling, or you didn't touch the little girl on the butt, or y'all just cracking jokes. You're in trouble. Like,
you're in trouble.
You literally got sent away for probably some fuck shit you weren't doing, and again because you had shitty parents, and then now you're fucking being humiliated for simply exercising natural emotions that a fucking kid has by other fucking children.
Yeah, that was my thing with Mary. Like we sit with her and she's very calm about all of this, but it really just broke my heart because she's on the spectrum and she gets there and at some point they're just like, "Oh, did you know Mary is autistic?" Like,
yeah,
like you said, now everybody.
Yep.
And then
she's the one that ends up going to the blind school because that's where the fuck she probably should have been in the first place.
Yeah, so she's wrong. So I will just point a lot of the illustrations you see that are like cartoon drawings throughout this are hers. So the way that she coped with what was going on is that she would draw these cartoons and sketches of everything that was going on at Elan. And she had this very vivid imagination. And I think some of that is from her being on the spectrum, and that's how she was coping. And she would get in trouble for, in essence, being the most kid-like out of any of the children. Like she was doing kid shit, like literally singing and trying to make the time there bearable, or goofing off or laughing, and she was getting in trouble for that.
Yep.
Them kids couldn't have shit.
This is where we meet the filmmaker. I just wrote that. Oh God, I shouldn't have wrote that. But
so he has dead eyes.
No, I wrote that he was on that Waukesha because he was talking about how he used to drink syrup and shit,
like a bottle a day.
Yeah.
That nigga look like
I just wrote on that Waukesha. So
yeah, he was very something. Yeah, bless his heart. I'm glad he came out of that because he just seemed like he was.
He did seem very dead in the eyes, like. But I think it was the Waukesha, like
that in the Elan school. Like he was like, I don't know if it worked for me or not, and I just like, okay, all right.
Right. I can't say if it did. I can't say if it didn't. Nigga,
he poses an interesting question. Like, did Elan help anyone? Because like I'm looking at like who looks to be the most successful, and it seems to be him, the filmmaker.
Don't get me wrong, dude. Remember, dude went to college and graduated and had a family.
No, baby, he's a heroin addict.
But then
at 36 years old.
So like I'm asking, did that really help, or did he leave Elon with a false sense of like self or whatever?
I'll tell you who Elon helped. Elon school helped the people that didn't graduate Elon school. The people that left there, checked themselves out of voluntarily, or ran and didn't subscribe to the program are the only people that seem to be fine. Elon is the only people that helped were the people that were able to get out.
Because the dude that was singing the song, he said he ran away and he was like the one kid that actually ran away and never got caught, and he ended up living in the woods.
Oh, the one who lived in the woods with a nigga.
He lived in the woods and then became a survivalist guy. Like that man is. He might say nigger a lot, but he's the most.
Y'all didn't think this nigga dropped acid when he said he lived in the woods with a nigga named Sticks? Y'all didn't think that was?
I thought
it was just so happy his name was Sticks, and he made everything
out of sticks, which is why they named him the Stick. I'm like, nigga, you high? Like,
he's high all the time.
What
like,
really happened?
All the fucking time.
Right. Like that nigga Shade said, I do a lot of acid. Like I'm just keep these on the whole time.
Missy, and she's like the 20-year staff member, and they all have nice things to say about Missy, but fuck that bitch. Like, honestly, fuck you, Missy. Wherever the fuck you are, I hope you are somewhere suffering, you raggedy bitch. And I mean that from every bottom part of my fucking spirit. Like, I really mean that. Usually, I don't say I hate people, but bitch, you are an awful person. Like, you deserve every bad thing to happen to you. I don't care what you feel like you did for those children. I don't care that you feel like you in some way saved these children from some horrible plight. You are a horrible human being. You did not.
Just the nicest one there. That's
fuck you. Like being the nicest person in a goddamn circle of demons does not make you any less of a fucking demon. Like, no,
you can't be nice and complacent.
Right. You can't admit to being a part of the ring, being a part of this situation. Like she admitted to being a part of everything, and then
I would just go do a session when that was going on. So as an adult, you thought that it was okay to leave a bunch of children to their devices to beat each other up because you didn't want to see it. Instead of just saying, "No, this probably isn't a good idea."
Because now the one kid, I forgot his name, the one guy who says that when he went there, he bought into the shit immediately, and that's how he moved up. Remember, he said the first guy that was over him didn't allow none of that shit. And dude would talk to them. Like he said, dude to talk, bring you in the office. You might be in there for an hour. You might be in there from 7 at night to 7 in the morning. But he was going to talk to you and figure the fuck what was going on. So that, you know what I mean? It was no ring. He had a different
Elon experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, he very much did.
He was able to buy into the shit and see the positivity. Because actually, now that we think about it, he is the only guy that actually looks healthy in the face. It looks like wherever the fuck he's living is kind of okay. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else looked like they were still doing drugs. They old girl admitted to stripping and shit after she left. Jayla died. Remember, like she said, she didn't have any anxiety or anything. But after she left Elon, nigga, she could not even go to the grocery store. She couldn't even be around people. You see what I'm saying?
This is kind of the end, right? Like we kind of
basically.
Yeah.
Elon says like they boast that 2/3 of the kids that went on to lead great lives. Obviously, there's no scientific way to verify that number. If I had,
they have some kind of numbers that they said out of 117 of people that left Elon
in Rhode Island. So Rhode Island.
Oh, in Rhode Island.
Then Rhode Island investigated the kids that were being sent there, and they said of the 117 kids that they know that were sent there from the state, 70 were arrested, and one is a murderer.
Right.
One definitely murdered someone or multiple ones. So,
and then apparently, I guess the state of New York, which God bless the Eastern District of New York, because y'all can sniff out a scam a mile away. Y'all's not letting people scam. You're not letting them abuse children, and God bless y'all over there. You're doing good work. Y'all is not letting no shit happen on your watch. They went in there first time and was like, "Oh no." Oh no! What the fuck?
Because you know what they did? They didn't tell these niggas they
didn't schedule a fucking appointment. They just showed.
Exactly. They were just like, you done with your sandwich? All right, let's go and ride up to Elon real quick. Like.
And another thing about it too, which shows their dedication, and just kind of piggybacking on what VJ said, they didn't investigate this because all children were being abused. Children from New York were like, "Hey, nigga, hey, this is happening to us over in this state." and they went and checked on the kids from their fucking state. Because again, at this time, we're spending $50,000 a year on one kid. So the state went up there to check, like, nigga, we don't keep sending kids up. Because at this point, it's a pipeline. The state, you're
people are getting kickbacks to send kids there. So judges
from their group homes, right? New York is taking kids out of their group homes who they deem are maybe reckless or just need that extra help, and they really think they're sending them for that. And these kids are like, nah, G, we getting our ass whooped up here. And somebody, like you said, nigga was like, you done with your food? Cool. No. Should we call? No, we just gonna show up like a man.
Right. Lil Ricky said some shit was happening last Friday, so I'm gonna go check it out or whatever. Like,
yeah, we're just gonna really check on Ricky.
And they really did. So then that launched that investigation. And then, you know, as usual, as most things are solved, Reddit got on the case as well and ended up really being a substantial, like,
one of the guys
piece of the puzzle to get this shit shut down.
Because one of the guys who graduated did a piece. It kind of went somewhere. His mans told him about Reddit. He put it on Reddit, and that shit just blew the fuck up. And it's like anything we see. He said one of the first comments was a guy that says, yo, I was reading this, and I just knew all of this was bullshit until I went and did my own investigation. And I can't believe what the fuck I'm reading. You know what I'm saying? And then that shit just caught fucking fire, and lawsuit after lawsuit. And because like a lot of the people say, he was like, yo, the fuck, Elon didn't get shut down because of laws they broke or because somebody really gave a fuck about us. He said Elon broke down because when that dude wrote that story, that shit hit them in their pockets. And motherfuckers was like, oh.
They had to shut down.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's not even they had to shut down because people would have kept they could have made some tweaks and been like, oh, we don't do those things anymore, and kept sending kids there. Is that you have the same people running it, and now we have the internet, and like anything on the internet, people start doing reviews because because at $50,000 a year. If I'm going to send my kid there, people don't, even if you send your kids to rehab or boarding school or whatever, if you pay $50,000 a year, you're going to call your kid, you're going to text your kid, you're going to write your kid, you are going to visit your fucking kid, you're going to Google, you are going to go to Maine and look at the building, and then you are going to walk around with the person, you are going to ask, where is my child going to be staying? I want to see it.
I need to see this Yelp review, bitch.
So now, I mean, there's just not a way in the age of the internet where you can justify sending your kid to the middle of the wilderness, sight unseen, for $50,000. And nobody asks questions. Like, it's just not a thing. And then and nothing's remote anymore, right? Like wherever Elon in Poland is, like I'm sure now there are houses and other shit out there. So if I want to run away, I could probably run a mile up the road before anybody caught me and be like, hey, they are abusing me and not feeding me. And the cops
Because
there's no way to be abusive to children now in the woods and nobody find out.
Because when he started this shit, that's why they went to Maine. It was less restrictions. It was way off in the middle of fucking nowhere in Maine. And if we're talking about the 70s, and you anywhere between the age of fucking 30 and up, you understand how America worked. And to be honest, there's been a lot of infrastructure in America. But in the last 30 to 40 years is when housing has blown the fuck up. So, in the 70s, it probably wasn't shit in the middle of Maine.
Probably not.
Just them.
So
let's
them.
run through these people.
Because didn't those cribs look like the trap to y'all, though?
They gave me trap vibes. It was
those houses looked like the trap.
It looked very crappy. And poor Mary, when she went, it was one fucking Victorian ass house. I was like, God damn, Mary, did you go in fucking 1845?
No, listen, that's why her imaginary friend was Victorian.
Was a fucking Victorian ghost.
That hurt my feelings too when she said I made my imaginary friend leave because I couldn't.
Because they weren't
here.
How they would talk to her.
Oh, you couldn't even let your imaginary friend hear. I said, baby.
That's wild. Yeah, that's my mama said she told the friend to leave. She told Ghost Girl to haul.
Yes.
So let's see. Alec is our guy in the flannel shirt in the love seat. He got out. He realized that shit's fucked up. I don't know anything about anything, and now I have to be a functioning adult. And now he has an oxy habit.
Yep.
Jillian was the one whose dad was abusing her. She gets the one thing I guess Missy did for her was that she gave her the strength to about the abuse instead of, I don't know, Missy and them going to the police.
Yeah. They just
and filing sexual abuse charges because she was still,
Well, he was in Chile at that time though.
Who gives a fuck? Really?
I mean, how can you? I'm just saying.
Honestly and truly, like he was in Chile, but he wasn't in Chile when he was abusing her. Now what?
No, I feel you. I agree with you. So I'm saying, yeah, go help her file the charges. But I see what you're getting at. I think she was just
like
more...
her therapy was, let us call your daddy in Chile on the fucking phone so you can ask him why he abused you. What abuser is gonna be like, yeah, so the reason I did that is because, like,
so you calling me on this line and might be recorded?
Right. They hyped her up for what? For what disappointment? Like when they could have just went to the goddamn police. Like, true shit. So again, Missy, you have failed us, you raggedy bitch. But
after you told us you was recording every goddamn line, he knew y'all was recording too. Goddamn it, shit.
Tracy becomes a stripper and starts doing heroin.
She does.
But she's still alive, so good for her. She's trying to get that worked out. She's in drug recovery, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Peter was our guy. Peter was good till he was like 33. Mm-hmm. Then he turned 36 and became a heroin addict.
All over again.
I mean, he had like a whole family, everything, and then one day his Elon fucking shit expired.
And could not cope. Could not cope. They realized he had no functioning coping skills for anything that happened outside of there.
Because that's what he said. He said the reason he went to college was because Elon made him understand. He tried to take it as a positive. Mm-hmm. I don't have to feel a way about anything. So he was afraid to do nothing. And then fucking 20-some years of feelings came rushing back on his ass. And he realized he had no idea how to deal with anything. And he lost. They don't say he lost his family, but I know he said he was pumping 25
bags. 25 bags of heroin a day, nigga. I'm out here.
Yeah, he doesn't. They don't speak.
Nobody got time for that.
Why? Which is why he was sitting on the couch with his sister. And God bless Liz, because he couldn't live in my motherfucking house. Bitch, you're the reason I got sent to Elon. Do you think
he went first and then her parents sent her after?
Yep.
And then, because remember, the daddy died. She faked that suicide attempt, and the dad.
He had a heart attack in Chicago. Yeah.
So really, she could have cried a little bit and probably not went to Elon. And Peter was like, "No, I think it'd be good for you." That's how she got shit off Elon.
Because that nigga came out of Elon with that fucking mask on and wasn't keeping that shit real. Like that's why.
Yep, and got her ass sent to Elon too. And she says all she hears is screaming all the time. So God bless her.
Yep.
I don't know how you sleep like that. But yeah, what else? Who else?
Mary goes to the school for the blind, and they treat her like a human being.
Right.
She wrote the book with illustrations.
Yeah, she did.
With illustrations and shit.
Hey, Mary came out on top a little bit, despite.
Mary's a bad bitch. God bless her. Like
the redhead girl got
she had that one 1998 clip.
It was cute. Them dolls she had was creepy. The dolls was creepy.
Oh, I'm gonna hard pass on the paper mache dolls, Mary.
Dolls are creepy, but you're cool. Julie was homeless and didn't graduate Elon.
She left, yeah.
She just left. I think she signed herself out and dipped and was like, I think she turned 18 and was like, so you can't legally keep me here.
I'm gonna go.
Jayla's the one that had the anxiety and couldn't go to the grocery store for herself, and she ends up dying from a heroin overdose, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dave that's the one who met the guy named Sticks and lived in and successfully ran away.
So he like Bear Grylls now, like
yeah, like he's teaching survivalist like methods to people. Like he has a real ass niche job that he got from running away from Elon and living in the woods for 2 years.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Yo, I know everybody that generally watches us doesn't do this, I would hope, but anybody who sees this, if you watch the documentary, Jayla is a very overweight person, right? But again, she makes a huge distinction to say that before I went to Elon, none of this existed. Stop body shaming motherfuckers. Stop making they literally wrote this girl up for eating too much. I'm bringing this up,
and it wasn't 5 or 6 people. She said she couldn't even get through the meal, and 5 or 6
people said she was eating too much.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because we see a lot of people who did leave Elon and they have their stories and this, that, and the third. But for this girl to already be a big girl and to be going through certain shit in regular life, and never ever once feel any kind of fucking way until she went to a place that was supposed to fucking help her, and because of that, she ended up fucking pretty much killing herself.
Basically.
Come on, like
that's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
Jeff tried to escape. He stole a car, and they basically were fed the fuck up with Jeff, and Jeff got arrested for stealing that car, and he did 2 years in prison. And honestly, that's probably the best thing that could have happened to Jeff.
I definitely think it was. I think he might have even alluded to it. Like he was still like he didn't want to be in jail, but like he couldn't go back there. Like
he got put in jail, and I think he was at the age where he didn't go to juvie. He went to real jail, and he realized that jail's a fucked up place.
I'm cool. Go back. I like to just walk in and get stuff out the fridge and stuff.
So. Right.
Yeah. Jeff realized jail was not gonna be for him, and so he said, "Fuck it, I'm done here. This was enough." And so Jeff got his shit together. So then Doug is the last. That's the black baby, ambiguously black guy.
Yeah.
So Jeff is like one of the older people. So bless Jeff's heart. I mean, he's just like.
Which one was Jeff?
Or not Jeff. I'm sorry, Doug. Doug, the ambiguous black guy.
What was my man What was my man that stayed 21 years sober? The dude. Remember the dude that said he passed out in his friend's driveway, drinking the beers and the pills and shit. Remember he said when he was getting ready to leave, Missy was like, if you go out there and smoke another joint, you're gonna be done.
Oh yeah. I can't remember his name, but I think he. Yeah,
he said it was the best and worst thing that happened to him. So I think but
anyway, Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, so Doug basically leaves Alon, and he doesn't have a diploma, he doesn't have a degree. They sent him to some kind of like music school, but he couldn't read. So then he just dropped out and became a criminal. And then you find out that he really doesn't have any family or really any like skills. He didn't learn anything while he was there.
And he kind of stuck at being a criminal because he only robbing niggas to eat dinner that day.
Yeah, like he wasn't like robbing niggas to eat dinner for the week. Like.
Right.
Yeah, he just did whatever he needed to do to like get a Subway sandwich.
He wasn't calling all your money out before you could cut the debit card off. He was just like, let me get that number 2. Trying to use it again tomorrow. Like, no, nigga.
And I think it's just that part made me tear up, and it just made me feel so bad because he tells the story about the mom almost, beating his head
pretty
in.
Much, yeah.
And the neighbors having to save him, but then he doesn't have any family. So they sent him to Alon, and it didn't matter what those people did to him.
Yeah, he said that.
What was he running to? Like,
right, like he said, I don't give y'all ain't gonna let me make a phone call. Who the fuck was I calling? I didn't. Yeah, he didn't give a fuck about getting no Christmas gifts. There was nobody.
Who was sending him a gift
anyway? Right.
Yeah, it's like none of the stuff that they were doing to break these other children mattered to him. So I don't think Alon broke him in the way it did other people. It just ruined his life because he left there with nothing. It took his childhood from him, but didn't give him anything to make him a productive member of society.
Right.
Which is what they did to all those children. Like Tracy said,
basically
they stole everything from them. They took
basically.
And it's sad because we don't sit with any of these people's parents, and I wonder why the fuck that is.
Because they all probably feel guilty.
Because they've died of guilt, or they can't face them. They can't face their kids.
They briefly mention it, like the same way that they apologized for slavery very briefly on PBS. They mentioned very briefly that Joe died. Remember, it's just like 1947 to 2001. And then it just goes to something else.
And it's like, all right.
Right. They can't even go sue Joe and get their money. Like, get not their money, but get some type of
something.
Just something. Like,
well, they couldn't do that anyway.
Because it was in the contract.
Their parents actually sent them legally.
It was in the contract that said you
in the contract, it had a line that basically said that you couldn't sue. So I'm sure there was something in there about
and it wasn't even like in fancy words. It literally was like, you can't sue
us. You signed here, you cannot sue us for anything that happens to your children.
Yeah.
So
and then another way that we know that this shit was not being investigated, I know we about to wrap up, but one of the girls, girl that got married, she said she found her old the paper that was written about her social worker that pretty much sent her to Elon and said she needs a warm, caring atmosphere with caring people and in this type of center. And if she doesn't get this, she's probably gonna kill herself.
Like and those exact words.
Elon. And she said,
and luckily,
she didn't meet her husband. Right. Luckily, she didn't. Because she said when she got out, her family didn't even fuck with her.
Because she didn't graduate.
Because she didn't graduate high school.
Right. They didn't want to take her in because she didn't graduate. She left. And she said if she hadn't met her husband wasn't so patient and loving, she probably would have killed herself. But
and that's sad. Like you send somebody there, and it's not the and then the thing about it is you're pissed off at her because she didn't graduate Elan, and it's like,
what was that?
What is it? What are we doing here?
What are you mad about? Like what do you want?
Mom, you didn't even fucking come check and see what this was.
Right.
You didn't think it was weird, bitch, that I didn't write you for 4 and 5 years?
Right.
It just sounds like they were pissed off that they sunk $50,000 a year in there, and then she came away.
That's exactly
without nothing. But it was like, what they're not giving out a high school diploma. So
there was nothing to get for your $54,000 except an extra room for your workout equipment. Like
that's exactly. There was nothing they were getting, and the other girl, like she said, she came out of there and. Like she just checked herself out because remember her social worker pulled her out because the social worker found out that she graduated high school and she was just out there.
Like, what are you doing here, girl? Like
the social worker was like, "Excuse me, what? I got my GED or whatever. I'm just here. I don't know. Like they just won't let me tell anybody to come get me. Fine, the social worker was like, the fuck?
Like,
I'm gonna get you.
I think that social worker was like, bitch, made me lose my job. Get up out of
here. Like, bitch, like, I'm not supposed to, this is supposed to be case closed, bitch. Like, what is you doing here?
Like, I really feel like that was it. Like, so, like they had an old social worker and then like a new, fresh, not overworked social worker came in.
And she's trying to get this stack down. She's like, wait, bitch, hold on.
She was like, hello?
Say hello?
Do you have a girl there by the name of...
You where?
No. That can't be true.
Is there a Jillian? Do you have somebody named Jillian there?
All right.
Yes, she's still there. From
like
6
right
years
now.
ago.
Like you looking at her? Like
she's scrubbing floors right now.
She's scrubbing floor right now.
This bitch is 2 years removed from high school.
You gotta hurry up to drink your Merlot and fucking get to it. Like I'm on my way.
No. Just wanted to check on her and see how she's doing. Great. And you said she had broccoli. Great.
That's when your man's walking in like,
back next week.
No, I gotta go.
I gotta go.
Yeah. Just keep her safe. We're so glad you're taking care of her.
Save me, please.
Hey, where the keys?
Like, I gotta go get this. I gotta go rescue this grown ass bitch from over.
I got work stuff. I gotta go.
Bitch, you didn't see all these other 18-year-olds who didn't graduate checking themselves out. You just stayed. That's like when slavery was over and niggas was like,
I don't think she was 18. I think she had just graduated high school and they couldn't legally keep her there after that.
Her. She was
19 when she left. She said it. This was 19 years old. Sitting up in like that last picture they showed her 19-year-old ass in there. You just taking a video bath.
Because they were letting them kids chain smoke like a motherfucker.
They were.
They really
all
were.
Them kids were smoking.
You used to get trouble with your ashtray. Yeah, they never ashtray.
Stress.
But guys, that's it.
That was it. The last stop.
Again, it's on Amazon Prime if you can handle it. A lot of times I know that this is enough for y'all. So I hope that you guys generally got the gist of it. No, though, it's super important, guys, that though Elan is closed, there are still a bunch of places that are similar or have similar techniques or similar like strategies and like fucking whatever's like there's still schools like this. Like Paris Hilton got sent to one that was very similar to this. Like, so like I just want y'all to know that like this is like not a boogeyman story where like this is the end of it. Like it's still happening. It's very much still happening.
Very real. Make sure you keep your children out of places like
and
this.
Listen to your people. Yeah. If you know somebody that's in an institution or something, the motherfucker's telling you that something's probably going on. Like, it probably is. Real shit.
If you don't want to watch it and you have questions, you can always tweet us. We will do our best to answer them.
Of course, absolutely. But my plan is to have something way better. Not better, but like not so. Yeah, like we're gonna.
We might not do another
stray away from kids because the last one we did was for kids that was being molested at the whatever school.
Yeah,
and they were all committing suicide. So really, only one person died here, and that we gotta take that as a win.
We gotta celebrate that.
School, that shit we did about the teacher telling drop your drawers. That shit wasn't. I swear this shit impacted me way more than that, and it shouldn't have.
And that was horrible.
And that was horrible.
It was pretty fucking bad, but this was pretty fucking bad.
This is fucking pretty bad too. So anyway, guys,
worse than that is that the dude, the teacher, and the other that was his man's, and the other nigga was his man's, right? So you had even though they were all disgusting and fucked up, you had a web of people lying for each other. There was nobody lying for this nigga. Just nobody came to fucking give a fuck.
Yeah. I mean, but you have to remember, a lot of these people thought that they were helping.
They did, but they didn't. But again,
and they characterized these kids as liars, right? So unless somebody was going to Maine to go in and check,
this nigga.
I saw the candy corn covered strawberries, and I was like, okay, this nigga might be on to something. I don't want none.
Them shit flat.
Listen, I don't want none.
Out here. We out here all day.
Okay. I can see how that was cute, but I don't want that.
So guys, we're done here. Anything else? I think that's it. All right. Well,
I mean, we love you. Like, go shake it off. Go
watch something cool. That's what I'm about to go do. But
go watch BMF.
Thank you. Yeah. Or the new episode of Insecure, whatever you guys want to do.
Listen, the name Lawrence should be in the running for an emotion. Like, have you seen? Y'all ain't seen the first episode?
I'm recording a recap tomorrow.
Nigga.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. All right. Don't.
Sad times.
Okay. Maybe people haven't seen it.
Have a hug. Think. Hug somebody. Think positive.
Go drink some wine.
Yes.
Do all those things. All right. That's Chris and I'm BJ and that's Penrose.
You want to know? You want to know how you can shake this shit off? Remember, there's a story where a nigga told another nigga that, hey, my therapist told me that I need to hang out with your daughter because the aliens is gonna come. And realize that your life really ain't that bad.
We haven't covered that. That's so funny. Okay, anyway, we didn't. Yes, no, we didn't. We just watched it. Okay, guys. Anyway, Chris, BJ, Penrose. We'll see you guys next time.
Later.
Bye.